The continent of Antarctica will be virtually ice-free in the next 25 years. It's going to lose half of the ice that it has now in the next 10. What you're looking at is time-lapse of a glacier and the meltwater coming from underneath it. Now, the period that you're watching here, you can kind of judge by a certain blue glacier. I'm going to try to mark it here when it starts. Right here. So this moving over here, it's basically a loop is what I'm saying. Covers about 2 hours. The glaciers in Antarctica are melting at a rate, and they're not reporting this, 10 to 100 times faster than even the worst estimates from before. The people that say that there's more ice now than there was a year or 5 years or 10 years ago are using pictures of surface ice, not accounting for the melt coming from beneath. Some of these glaciers are miles thick, which is something very, very, it's hard to wrap your mind around a piece of ice 400 miles long and 3 miles high that you could cave out enough of it that you could take off a plane inside this giant melting ice cube, fly around inside it, and land. That's how big and that's how much is being lost. Now, let me be real clear about my stance on this whole man-made climate garbage. Are we completely to blame? No. Are we mostly to blame? No. A lot of it has to do with the sun. A lot of it has to do with just natural cycles. But does that mean we should do nothing? No. I'm a big fan of all of the solar and the wind and all of the other types of energy generation for the simple fact that it gets us away from the government. Those types of things, generating power yourself, living off the grid, forget the whole political aspect of it. It gives you freedom. So it's happening, and we have to deal, we have to adapt, we have to move forward. But we don't have to get involved in a bunch of political mess just because, they want the alternative energy to take the money out of the hands of big oil. I'm not totally against that idea. I don't know anybody who would think that continuing to enrich those guys is a good idea. It's, something where it's kind of a win-win-win-win-win. We take money away from big corporations, that's a win, which means less tax money to DC, even more of a win. We go off the grid, which takes us out from under their thumb, that's a win. And we're self-sufficient. And everybody talks about the negative aspect of this happening. The things that are going to be discovered on that continent are going to change history. As they're going to change life as we know it. There's been very little written in history about this that is reality, but we're going to be able to see it with our own eyes. More than likely, in our lifetimes, assuming God allows us to live full, long, healthy lives. But this is kind of what's being brushed under the rug by the mainstream media. They love the story of the melting Antarctica, but they definitely want to put their spin on it. And the scientists are saying now that this is not going to have that kind of a spin, that this, isn't something that we're going to be able to totally blame on man. There's 8 billion of us now, and 30 years ago there was only 2. So if you were standing in a room somewhere and there were 2 of you, and the climate in that room was fine, all of a sudden 6 more people walk in, that room's going to heat up. And if you crack a window in the room to bring in some fresh air, well, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be areas that are colder, areas that are hotter. And to find that sweet spot's going to be a lot more difficult. Anybody in Florida this year, or at least North America and Europe, I can't remember anything being this hot. And I'm not going to show you the pictures of what happened to this English girl in Cuba, but she had on suntan protectant. She had on oil or not oil, but she had sunscreen on. And what the sun did to her back, I'm not going to show. It's just that horrible in a matter of hours. We used to go out and lay in the sun for hours at a time and not have this happen. I mean, people got sunburns, but not like what you would see when you see this. Just go ahead and Google the terms that are on the screen right now. English girl, horrific sunburn, and you can find the pictures. I'm not going to show them. But I did find some new stuff in Antarctica, in an area that I haven't really looked at a whole lot. There's been some new imagery that's been uploaded to Google Earth Pro, and I have really suggested that people use this as much as they can, because there's stuff here that you just will not find in any other map. You will not find in any other system. And you can see things, and we've proven it over and over and over again by using aspect, by using shadow, by using history. But the first thing I want to show is this very weird. There are a series of triangles, and I just can't really understand what in nature would cause this. Now I have two places labeled out here, and I want to zoom in and show you this triangle right here. Now, this by itself, it's a blurry image. Okay, you could probably say that's just maybe some artifact. But right over here, not far away, look at this. Another one just like it. I mean, virtually in all measurement, virtually identical. And there are more of them in this field. And I'll give you both of these coordinates, and you can look through this field for yourself to show that there are a huge number of perfect geometric shapes out here that shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be in nature. And you can see this through time. This is an image from December of 2016. We back up to 2015, a year before. Now this is 1 year, and it's still here. And this is a different image. This isn't just a repeat image. And it's a little bit more blurry in this image from the year before, but they haven't moved. If this was sea ice, there's no way. And over here, and I forgot to mention this is from December of 2015. There's one here, and now one here. Almost identical, almost completely symmetric in shape. These triangles, and we've shown these in many other Antarctica videos. There's another one up here. They're just all over the place. I've never seen so much symmetry, and this melt that I was talking about, foliage is starting to uncover in areas that shouldn't have it. If you look real close here, on the side of this mountain, you can see all of this greenery. And to just give some perspective, to zoom out, this is nothing but a giant sheet of ice and snow and rock. And when you zoom in, you can see it. It's clear. This is, I don't care whether it's algae, I don't care whether it's, moss or whatever it is. There's life springing out of Antarctica right now. It's fascinating to see. And I've been wanting to do this for a long time, to give ourselves a reference from which to go when we find things. This is a Russian outpost, very near to where I found some of these things. So that when we see hand of modern man, we know exactly what it looks like. We see the building set out in a certain way. We see evidence of what looks like, I think, diesel or some type of chemical used to melt things. We can see the walkways. We can see the pathways. We can see the power lines. It's very, very, the name of this station, I'm going to try to pronounce right. Molodjoznaya, I believe. And if I did that wrong, then that's the best I could do. It's a very long name. Molodyozyana. Molodjoznaya Station, I guess this is. So we can use this as a reference. But also, way out here, in the middle of nowhere, and this is just a giant sheet of ice. What in the heck is this thing? We'll get a quick measure on this to see what we're looking at. We'll just put it in regular miles. Looks 0.14 miles, so that would come out to about 230 meters long. So not just some little anomaly. Almost the size of a football field. So a lot of strange stuff. And this melt, this whatever the reason is, things are so hot this year, and there's going to be some positive aspect to it too. But not everybody believes the same thing for the same reasons, I guess was kind of the idea. But it's melting at a pretty alarming rate down there. And I hope that if we can get past the politics of it, that people can start to get science stood up to get down there to find this stuff. Because who knows the blessing that could be waiting. And I guess we'll just leave that there. Like, share, subscribe.